So when I said Pennsylvania is frozen, that was no lie. It really messes with your mind because anywhere you step, it instantly breaks. But you're not going all the way through. As of making this video, much of the country is currently under a deep freeze, with many locations experiencing temperatures 20 to 50 degrees below normal. And right here in Pennsylvania, we're currently experiencing some of the coldest temperatures we've had in quite some time, which are creating some interesting situations. So come along with me as we check them out. For those of you who may not be familiar where I am, we're starting off today in West Pittston, Pennsylvania. I'm on the west bank of the Susquehanna River. And that name and this location may be familiar to some of you now because I was here just 2 months ago to document the drought conditions, where I was just downriver past that train bridge and we were able to walk out almost halfway across the river. Not only have the river levels risen considerably, but now many parts of it is a frozen sheet of ice. Directly in front of us is not land. I mean, it technically is land, but it's not the other bank. That's an island known as Scoville Island. I'm going to try to get down a little bit closer to give you a better, less obstructed view. And we're going to make a few different pit stops along the way, check out a few different spots as well. Now you're looking at where land meets water. You see the ice build up there. I am technically standing on ice. I'm holding onto a tree. Ice is not really that thick right here, but we are going to come across some areas where the ice has some considerable thickness to it. I hear a loud grouping of geese somewhere. In case you're curious about conditions, well, as of about 8 o'clock this morning in West Pittston, temperature was, I think, -6 degrees. Right now, it's about 11 a.m. and it warmed up to a balmy 9 degrees. The good thing though is that there's minimal wind. I chose to come today because the wind is around 3 to 5 miles per hour. So although it is cold out, it is tolerable, but I have many layers on, not only clothing wise, but with gloves, my headwear, wearing the face mask. It gets cold quick if you're exposed, but beautiful sunny day though, despite the cold temperatures. It is supposed to kind of warm up later in the week, towards the weekend into the 20s, big heat wave. But now let's move on to a different part of the Susquehanna and see how it looks over there. We're currently a little bit south of where we were, downriver on the other side of the train bridge, which is straight through that way. You can't see it from here. I did stop though and just get a couple shots of it. It looked really nice with the snow on the ground. And that bridge, if you haven't already known, is owned and rarely operated by R.J. Corman and their subsidiary Luzerne and Susquehanna Railway. But this area here, I came to specifically because I was here exactly 2 months ago to document the drought, as I mentioned, and I was able to walk out nearly halfway across this river. Somewhere out here is a picnic table that I did my outro at, which I'm guessing is probably underwater now. And there's also a pipe going underwater that I was able to walk out on almost halfway. So things have changed considerably. You can see we do have an ice sheet right in front of us here, some movement, and then some more solid stuff right out there, closer to the halfway point. And it may not come through a microphone, but you can hear the ice making noise as it's kind of crunching and crashing into each other and shifting. So I'm going to give you just a moment of silence. You may or may not be able to hear it. I'll try boosting the audio levels, and you may be able to hear what I hear. As I'm standing here, a couple of things I'm noticing is that there's a lot of little broken up ice pieces going kind of towards the east bank. It's going like southeast, and that buildup right there is kind of getting built out towards the center of the river. And then over here, where the water is flowing, it kind of resembles a river within inside a river, because although this is one river, with the ice blockages, it's making its own path through. So that's why it resembles like a river snaking through a river of itself, if that makes sense. Welcome to Kingston, Pennsylvania. We travel a few towns south. This is the famous Market Street Bridge. And we've been here before because Kirby Park is right over there. And I've made a few videos over there, but we're going to be coming on this side underneath the bridge because down here, the river, I believe, looks a bit different from what we've seen by West Pittston. This particular span has some work done by some pretty talented artists. Looks like some of these are kind of work in progress. This looks like Popeye right here, leaning against his motorcycle. Bird there. I believe that's a fish. There is a rendition of Patrick Star from SpongeBob. Kermit the Frog. I don't know if that's just an alien or if that's a character. A lion, I think that's Powerpuff Girls right there. I think that's Tom and Jerry, Stitch, a hot air balloon, and a dragon. Well, we have quite the sight before us. This is a stark contrast from where we came from because here it is an ice field. This is a pretty large ice jam blocked up right in front of Market Street Bridge. Looking across this downtown Wilkes-Barre, Market Street Square is just like a block or two in. That's the River Walk complex over there. No movement at all, but I think it's like an illusion because I think there's a little ledge going down or a ravine past this ice jam in front of us, and there is water flowing because back there is where you can see the water. I'm going to try and get as close as I can. I may even walk out onto the ice because this ice is considerably thicker from where we came from. I definitely don't want to do it where there's movement though, but I'm going to see if I could maybe get out there a little bit. It's a rare opportunity that you can stand out on top of the river and not get wet, and not during a drought. Currently under the bridge right now, and you can see some of the deterioration of the concrete. A lot of exposed rebar there. And you don't realize how big this bridge is until you're actually down here beneath it. But we are at the water's edge. It's hard to tell which actually is true land and what is just maybe ice pushed up onto the land, which I think that's what we have in front of us right here. You can see some of these sheets of ice here are quite big. It's like little brittle ice I'm stepping on and cracking away to, but it's not breaking into the water. Boy, what a sight. I do want to get out at least to where the sunlight is there. It may be pressing my luck a little bit, but I think there's enough buildup here that I'm not going to fall through into the water, and it is cold enough to have a good thickness of ice. The brightness too of the snow and the sun is kind of bringing the exposure down. I'm noticing the screen, so it's making it look darker than it actually is. It's actually really bright out here. But let me try to safely get over there to the edge where the sun is and give you a look from there. It really messes with your mind because anywhere you step, it instantly breaks. But you're not going all the way through. You're just breaking through the top layer of like the snow and ice. Well, I safely made it to where I wanted to come to. Standing on an ice ledge in the middle of a really large ice jam. on the Susquehanna River. Something I've never done before. Not that I say it's a bucket list item, but at least I could say, hey, I did it. And it's kind of strange, but interesting and kind of awesome at the same time. Not gonna lie though, I am a tad bit nervous just because now that I'm in the sun, which is probably gonna soften up some of the ice, but I still think I'm in an okay spot where there's no concern. The water is moving over there. And over here is basically just, like I said, a buildup of ice over the past week or two. And with how cold it is today, I think I'm okay. I'm definitely over water, I know that. I just don't know how far. The true land is right there. And with the river levels that we've seen by West Pittston, I know there's water beneath us. I want to get a little bit closer just to show you this ledge here. Okay, so it's hard to see. I know it's kind of difficult on camera to pick up the terrain here, but we are up higher than there. There's a little tiny slope or ledge here, and this is about, like I guesstimated, 4 to 6 feet higher than down there. That is definitely the true river. Water is flowing out of there and is coming out underneath that span right there where it is open water for just a short distance. Then it's back to solid ice. But Market Street Bridge here in Kingston is encased in an ice jam. Not the first time it's happened, but it's been a long time since it's happened. Aside from the traffic, it's pretty quiet here. Not a whole lot of people out, which is not surprising with how cold it is. But it did warm up 2 degrees. It is now a balmy 11 degrees out. Not really hearing any noise either. Very small, like cracks I could hear or just shifting. It was actually louder by West Pittston where there was less ice. But I think it's just so frozen solid that it doesn't really have much room to move and to make noise until it actually warms up. And once it does warm up, this is going to break off in chunks and it's going to be like floating icebergs going downriver, heading south. And it's definitely going to create some more problems as that happens because these buildups are going to get caught in front of bridges and it may cause some structural damage. If you have any places like you, since much of the country is in a deep freeze, let me know where you're at in the comments and how it is by you, if you have frozen rivers or not, or any after effects from the sub-freezing temperatures. So when I said Pennsylvania is frozen, that was no lie. Moved to a different area and there was some cracks and crevices that have formed where you could definitely get your foot lodged, probably twist or even break an ankle. But you can see why these walls are so thick and these supports are built at a point. We've seen a lot of other bridges, especially older bridges, even that train bridge that we came from by West Pittston, it has steel plates on the outside to protect the actual structural material so that it could deflect logs and rocks, or in this case, ice. So there's no plates here, just really large pointed columns. And you can even see some graffiti up there too. Makes you wonder how people reach some of these areas. And some of the parts under this bridge look kind of questionable as well, where there's broken concrete, a lot of exposed rebar, like right up there. And it's one of the main arteries here in Kingston, connecting Kingston to downtown Wilkes-Barre. Thousands of vehicles pass over this per day. As fascinating as this is, we're not done yet. I have one more location, which is actually 2 parts. We're going to be heading north to a familiar place I've been to many times and made videos on. But with how cold it is and how cold it's been, I think there's a good chance we may see something that we haven't seen before. And we're gonna go to an area that also requires a flashlight to see how the ice is kind of treating that area as well. So I'll see you there. Well, you can definitely tell there's a change of scenery. So welcome to our final location of Nay Aug Park, a snowy Nay Aug Park here in Scranton, Pennsylvania. There are two spots here I want to take you to show you how they're kind of being affected by the frigid temperatures and the deep freeze that we're in. One is down here to my left, going down an icy trail, hopefully not too bad. The other one's actually directly in front of me. I'm not going to show them to you yet, but those of you familiar with this place probably already know what they are. So let's head to the first location and check that out now. Trail wasn't too bad coming down, surprisingly not icy. For previous times in the winter, it's been a sheet of ice. Now, as you can probably hear in the background, there's a water source. Almost fell there. I was hoping, fingers crossed, it was gonna be frozen solid, but it's only partially frozen. In front of me is the famous Nay Aug Gorge waterfall. And it's not frozen because obviously fast-moving water is harder and takes longer to freeze. You need temperatures like this for a longer duration. So what I'm going to show you is the waterfall itself that's encased in ice, but it is still flowing. But everything in front of it, though, is basically frozen solid. This is basically an icy wonderland down here. Now, just to put things into perspective, up there is the treehouse, which we've seen in other videos, and just in case you are familiar with this park, you know where the things are as far as orientation wise. Now, this water is known as Roaring Brook, and the source of this water, well, we've been to on more than one occasion. Just recently, last year, 2024, I did some documenting and updating on the Dunmore No. 7 reservoir that was actively being drained and dredged, and the deconstruction of some 1800s buildings. This water is coming directly from there. So that just shows you, again, perspective orientation as to where we are. That water is up there near Dunmore, near the highways, and we're down here just on the outskirts of downtown Scranton. This is, well, I should say it was a famous swimming spot. They have been cracking down on it in more recent times just because of the amount of danger and the unfortunate amount of deaths that have taken place. As far as I know, there's been well over 50, if not closer to 100 deaths here, mostly drownings, since the 1970s. People, you know, often jump off the falls, but up on top of there's a lookout area, and they jump from there. I think that's called Killer. And I've witnessed people jump in here and try to swim against the current, and they are struggling to even get to the side of the wall, where if you get exhausted, you're just going to end up in severe trouble. So there's a lot of rescues here. It is now off limits to go down there. There's actually fines involved. And I believe there's cameras here as well. So in the past, you used to be able to walk down near the falls, get really close to it, but it is highly prohibited now. But this is actually a deep pool of water here. I believe it's over 30 feet deep. And it's reported to be some either wreckage of something down there or parts of an old ride that either came from the Nay Aug amusement park that was here, or Luna Park, which was up closer to 81 up there. So it's reported to be a really dangerous deep hole. On top of that, with the turbulence of the falls, it just makes for a recipe for disaster. Some gorgeous icicles too, as we've known to call them now, nature's frozen tears. But there is a little more, I should say a little bit further we could go, but right now is complete sheet of ice. So I'm going to put the camera away, safely get over there, and I'll give you a look from over there. And this is about as close as we could get safely and legally. Yeah, there's the jumping point, what is nicknamed Killer. I've witnessed people jump off of there too. With my fear of heights, I wouldn't be able to do it. But I would be able to probably jump off the ledge right down there. But let me zoom in, give you one more look at the falls. Icy cold water into almost like a bottomless pool surrounded by a thick layer of ice. If you went underneath there, I don't know when you would come out, because if you do follow this, it's still frozen all the way out towards the train bridge back there. So although it does shallow out, it is still completely frozen. Without a doubt, beautiful location, no matter what time of year you come here. We even had meetups here where my friend Alan of Revenge of the Apocalypse held a meetup here. We had a nice grouping of people, explored the park, went down to the train tunnel. Yeah, I was hoping it was going to be completely frozen or about 90% frozen. I think that's probably about 50% frozen. So I would say if we get another good week of these temperatures, it would probably freeze up. But in the next 3 to 4 days, it's going to be in the 20s and 30s. A little selfie moment here at the falls. So that was location number 1 here at Nay Aug I wanted to show you. But now I need to head back up, traverse the trail, go past the treehouse, head downhill, and cross over what I believe is called the Konjorski Bridge, which will cross over Roaring Brook, go through the woods a little bit, and then we'll be at location number 2. While I was crossing over the bridge, I peered off both sides. Parts of Roaring Brook are partially frozen, still flowing for the most part. After crossing the bridge though, I had to walk through what was like a little winter wonderland. A little pathway just snaking through the woods there. And after climbing a slippery hill, we are now at our very final location, which may be the best for last. And it's right back there, which you may or may not be able to see. It's an abandoned train tunnel. Welcome to the Nay Aug Tunnels, a location that some of you are probably familiar with, whether you're from the area or from my channel, because I did do a specific video on these several years ago with my daughter Lily. And as I mentioned, we were here before with Alan for his meetup group. As you can tell, there are 2 tunnels. The right one is the active one. Left one is the abandoned one. The unique thing is that the right one was built in 1856. The left one was built in 1905. And some of you may be questioning, why is the newer one abandoned? Well, that's because in only 50 years of operation, in 1955, there was a hurricane that came through and the floods wiped out the trackage on the other end, wiped out the bridge as well. And they deemed it wasn't worthy to repair it and put it back in service, so they decommissioned it, officially abandoned it, and now it is just an empty abandoned tunnel. This one is used currently by DL, Delaware Lackawanna, and Steamtown. In case you're curious, the trackage going in that direction does head right towards Steamtown, and then going in this direction, it would go past that number 7 reservoir that I mentioned. It would go underneath that old abandoned Jessup Viaduct that I faced my fears on, and eventually heading out towards Susquehanna. Now this is one of the reasons I wanted to bring you down here. Even though there's no water flow down here, there's always ice flow. And there are some significant ice formations here. And this one specifically rising all the way to the top. It's almost like a frozen waterfall. So maybe we did get our wish after all. We were looking to see the frozen gorge. Well, we have a frozen icicle fall right here. Now, normally I'd give you size perspective, but for one, I don't have my tripod with me. It's in the car. Number 2, it's really icy over there. And number three, I don't really want to stand really close to that in case any part of it was to break. But if I was to guess the height, I would say, I'd say 30 to 40 feet, roughly. Trackage has been removed. I believe there was a double line that came through here, just like there's two lines going through that tunnel. And both tunnels are 755 feet in length. So I just wanted to take you through. I do have a flashlight with me to see if there is any ice formations making their way through the rock surface, and just to see how this is holding up in frigid conditions like this. But just to give you a look behind the icicle falls, look at that. It's got like a bluish greenish hue to it. I'm actually gonna grab a rock, toss it at it, and see if it breaks anything. Yeah, it's pretty solid. Let me see if I get that piece hanging there. Yeah, it's pretty thick and solid. Not going anywhere right now. See, the top is all black soot back from the steam engine days, and also from fires in here too, from parties or homeless people. And it's pretty much solid rock. Now above this tunnel, which I've been on top of before, is where part of Luna Park used to be. So Luna Park was above this, and to our left, which is Interstate 81, and on the other side of 81. So there was a former amusement park right in this vicinity that didn't last very long. If you want to get more information on that park, just Google search Luna Park Scranton, and you'll be able to read up the history on that. See a buildup of material here. That's looking right back where we started from. If I should be able to adjust the exposure. There we go. It's actually a really cool shot with the ice hanging down. Gonna walk ahead here just a bit, which will give you a good sense of scale. Not really any remnants left behind from the railroad days. Everything has been ripped up, as I mentioned. If you're lucky, you may find a spike or a plate, but it's just ballast in here for the most part. Good sized tunnel though, and like I said, it's holding up pretty well for not being used. In service since 1955. So we're now in 2025, that's roughly 70 years. Guesstimating size, I would say from side to side, I'd say 25, 30 feet wide. Height-wise, I'd say 20, 25 feet. But I've been in a lot of train tunnels, and even ones that are publicly accessible, some of them aren't even in this good a condition as far as structural integrity and how well it's holding up. So this one, it's a shame it's no longer used, but the one thing I always find fascinating with these locations is when these icicles do form down through the ceiling, they basically form like temporary stalactites. And then on the bottom, you have the opposite, where we have some stalagmites. Basically formed a small ice field right here. And just to mention, this tunnel was built for the increased demand back when train traffic was basically the go-to for industries and companies. So this was built 49 years after the adjacent tunnel next to us over there. But it only lasted, as I explained, 50 years. And who knows if that hurricane and flood didn't wipe this out, if it would still be in operation today. I would say probably not, just because, like I said, train traffic is not like it used to be. Even though DL does come through here regularly, it is not high demand like it was back in the early 1900s. A lot of formations here. See some different colorations. like maybe some calcite or limestone. Some fallen ice too. And this tunnel, right now it's basically ambient temperature, what it is outside. But in the summertime, it is like air conditioning in here, as it is, I guess you could say, considered underground. The earth is above us. It's always at least 10 to 15 degrees cooler in here in the summer. There's something up here on the ground. I don't know what it is. Let's check that out. Ah, it's an umbrella. I hear radio traffic.
The track guys are working up at the tunnel there, chipping ice. Cam starts working on the east.
Oh, I think there's maintenance way up here. I heard them say they're chipping away ice on the tunnel. Maybe get a glimpse of that. Well, if it rains or snows, I'm covered. Now as we reach the other end of the portal, a lot more ice flow on the outer wall here. And here is looking back where we came from. It is passable without a flashlight, but I always bring one just in case there's any trip hazards. But I think at various times they do bring heavy equipment through here to kind of level it out. This material does look like it's worked. I'm guessing maybe if water does flow through here and creates some channels or ditches or erosion, that they come through here and fix it. I don't know if they have any future plans for this, but as far as seeing train traffic again, I think those days are long gone. Just see how far we could get up here without disturbing the men doing their work over here in the other tunnel. Just look at the amount of moisture that's coming through the wall to form these gigantic ice formations. Oh yeah, there's the workers walking away from the tunnel. They have a shovel, and I think they have a maintenance away truck, high railer, parked down the edge there. Now the one thing I'm noticing near the top of the portal here are rock bolts. And we talked about those before. They're used in mines and tunnels. And they basically are holes that are drilled up through the rock, and a long rod with a flange on the end, almost like a washer, is drilled in that same hole. It tightens into the rock and basically holds everything in place. So it's kind of like reinforcement to stop any loose material from fracturing or breaking off and falling down. So that's what we're looking at there. You can actually see a couple of the drill holes that are empty, but they drill a certain way and then drill that rod in the rest of the way, and it just tightens itself right against it and holds everything tight. I think there's a train coming. Yeah, there's a train coming through the other tunnel. We should be able to see it exit right over here. You can hear it kind of rumbling through the tunnel. If I was in the middle of the tunnel, it would probably sound really cool. This should be DL exiting, heading back towards Steamtown. That's basically what you would have encountered through this tunnel back in the day. It would have been steam locomotives, and towards the end, right before that hurricane, maybe some early diesel locomotives coming right through this tunnel. So looking right there to the left of the active bridge is the old bridge abutment. You can see it's a little bit lower. That's where the other line would have came through. It may have been built up higher back in the day. but this Roaring Brook down here flooded during 1955 hurricane and wiped out this line pretty badly. And here's looking at the other portal right here. You can see this side is definitely not maintained. The concrete facade is all weathered and eroded away, rebar sticking out. The other side, the active side, is definitely in better condition. Can't help myself, I have to be a kid. Let's see if we could topple this over. Oh. Well, guys, I created this just for you. Custom ice formation, courtesy of Mother Nature. Well, here's the part I've been waiting for. I think it's actually colder in here than it is outside. Fingers and face got really cold on the way back. There's a slight breeze coming through there as well. Well, feels like a heat wave out here now. Not really, but with the sunlight it does. It feels really good comparing to being inside the tunnel. I have to say though, I'm a bit disappointed in myself because I watched the footage back of me toppling that ice formation. I didn't have the camera facing down low enough. For where it smashed, all you saw was just a few pieces fly up in the air. You didn't get to see the big crash. So just poor preparation on my part. But anyways, that's the big kid in me. I always like doing stuff like that, whether it's throwing rocks at icicles to make them fall or toppling them over to make them crash. Can't help myself. I'm always gonna be a big kid at heart. But this was definitely a unique look at Pennsylvania when it's frozen, as is much of the country. And the one thing I've been hearing on the news is that parts down south like Texas, Louisiana, Florida, they're supposed to get not only sub-freezing temperatures, but also freezing rain and ice and snow. And they're not prepared for conditions like that. They don't have plow trucks, they don't have salt, they don't have the equipment for treating the roads because they never get cold temperatures like that. They never get frozen precipitation. So according to news sources, a lot of those states are going to need help from neighboring states because they just don't have the necessary equipment or supplies to treat the roads during this rather bizarre sub-freezing spell that's basically coming right down the center of the country. I know parts farther north are even much colder than this. The only thing I'm really thankful for is that there was not anything above like a 5-mile-per-hour breeze today, because if it was a windy day, the wind chill would be so far below zero, it would be unbearable. Windy days on temperatures like this, that's no for me. I wouldn't be out here doing a video. But to see the Susquehanna with a big ice jam and to see how other parts of the river are flowing, and then coming here to Scranton at Nay Aug to see the falls are about 50% frozen and to see how the tunnel has its own ice formations, I think that it's a good roundabout look at how things are dealing with the cold temperatures. Some things frozen, some not. Something I wanted to take the time to document and to share with you because it's been a good while since we've had cold temperatures like this and where the river's frozen up solid and we've had really thick, massive ice formations like that. It's been several years at least. With that being said, I am definitely ready to warm up, get some more warm food in me, and to basically start editing this video. So I just want to thank you so very much for coming along. Hope you enjoyed the video. And wherever you are, hopefully you're staying warm. Until next time, I'll see you in the next video.